Hi, I'm Savannah Fortledge, and today I'm going to be talking about grifting, which for the purposes of this video can be defined as a pattern of consumer and company behavior which ultimately results in secondhand clothing being raised to exorbitant prices. I have a personal interest in this topic because I've been secondhand clothes shopping for most of my life. I grew up going to Goodwills, and I've noticed a very big shift over time in the way that clothes are sold and the way in which we as the consumers, purchase them. And this makes sense because of the internet, the advent of the internet. According to Digital Desires Mediated Consumerism and Climate Crisis, for the commercial sector as a whole, their survival in a capitalist economy depended on finding other ways to organize the routine production and consumption of objects. With the advent of the internet, now the majority of secondhand clothes shopping is not done in Goodwill, but it's done in online spaces.
A lot of the reason why op-shop prices have increased is because of op-shop resellers. You see so many on Instagram now. I always try to limit that by making sure I'm never taking more than I need, which can be quite hard because people who are poor deserve high quality garments, they deserve to have the cool branding. When I was younger, when we were poor, it wasn't necessarily vintage that we were looking for. We were just looking for clothes to, warm our backs, basically.
And this gets at the larger point of the kind of shift that we've seen in consumer behavior versus about secondhand shopping. During my childhood, secondhand shopping was not a social activity. It wasn't equivalent to going out with your friends and getting coffee. It was something that you did because you had to, because that was the only way you could afford clothes. But now that secondhand shopping has moved onto the online space and got so much more popular with younger generations, it's becoming like a sort of activity. It's becoming a social statement to go secondhand shopping. It shows class consciousness, it shows environmental consciousness, but the culture of grifting behind it is anything but. And that's what we're going to be investigating here in this project. What really drew me in the most to this project was looking on online spaces. Depop, for example. Right now I'm showing Grateful Dead t-shirts, and what I found really interesting was that typically the items that are newer are less money than the actual vintage items, typically by about a significant margin, about $10 to $15. And I found this so interesting, and I really wanted to see if we could find this anywhere else. And so I decided to look at 4 brick and mortar locations. I wanted to go to markets, I wanted to go to vintage stores, and then antique stores, and then consignment stores. Nice. This is like, look at this, has the rugby elbow patches and shoulder patches. This is old school. This is a cool piece. What is it?
It's too big. It's an XL.
Oh, it's a old Ralph Lauren polo. It's 100% cotton. I would go with it. Well, I mean, this is a rugby shirt.
So what is it?
A rugby shirt? Yeah. Oh, this is cool.
Oh, that is cute.
So here you can see a bunch of secondhand graphic t-shirts being way overpriced. These are anywhere from $40 to $25, which $25 is a healthy amount, but $40 for a graphic t-shirt is quite the exorbitant price. So here we can see that the antique stores typically price their items a little bit better. So this is a Columbia jacket for $60. That makes perfect sense. You can see all of these shirts here are also an acceptable price, ranging in the $20 range for secondhand clothing items. That makes sense. Same with these graphic t-shirts at about $12. That makes perfect sense to me. Typically, secondhand items are typically priced cheaper than newer items. But where the antique stores fail is in their Carhartt jackets. The Carhartt brand is particularly prized by grifters because of their longevity as products, and you can see that a lot of these coats are priced exactly how they would be if they were brand new, and that just does not make sense in the secondhand shopping community. While many secondhand stores typically employ like a wide range of different brands, most of the brands that you're seeing here are fast fashion, which is another new advent to the secondhand clothing market. And here you can see a very interesting pattern with the jeans. American Eagle jeans are priced at about $16, and these Levi's here are almost double. And this does not accurately reflect how they're sold on the first-hand market. Here you can see again American Eagle jeans for 16, and these Wranglers are going to be sitting at about 22. Now, the vintage markets were perhaps the most grifty out of all of them. Here are some t-shirts labeled at about $30 each, and the windbreakers are not much better, at sitting at about $95 to $50. And you can see how they brand themselves. They brand themselves by the year, which is a big giveaway that it's going to be a pretty grifty kind of situation. To summarize my findings, I think that the markets typically engage in pretty grifty behaviors. I think antique markets are a really good middle ground. I think a lot of what they sell is pretty appropriately market priced, except for a couple exceptions like Carhartt jackets. I think consignment stores are a little grifty, but I think their prices are overall pretty appropriate to what the item is. But I think vintage stores are definitely the most grifty out there. And overall, I would say, yes, we can see the effects of online algorithmic influence in regards to secondhand clothing starting to seep into these brick and mortar stores. Overall, as consumers, I would say that it's very important to be very cognizant of the media which we consume and how we consume it, both in online spaces on Depop, for example, with algorithms keying vintage as a more expensive item than a new item. And secondly, in brick and mortar stores, because the internet is no longer its own little bubble. It does have an actual effect on the real world. Media has a huge influence on not only climate change, but the contribution of more waste to the environment. And while I think that the secondhand clothing movement is great, overall more beneficial to the environment than engaging with fast fashion, it's still very important to critically analyze the ways in which we are being advertised to as consumers and the way in which we as consumers thus behave.
Oh my god.